To eat or not to eat, that is the question for Papa John's fans who love the pizza but hate the founder's use of a racist slur in a conference call. In that call, Forbes reported that Papa John, a.k.a. John Schnatter, said, quote, Colonel Sanders called blacks, and then the racist slur, and then complained that the colonel didn't face backlash for it. John left his role as chairman of the company over those comments, and this weekend he apologized for that while saying his words were, quote, twisted.
It wasn't a slur. It was a session on strategy and media planning and training, and I repeated something that somebody else said and said we're not going to say that. We don't use that kind of language and vocabulary. And sure, it got taken out of context, and sure, it got twisted, but that doesn't matter. I hurt people's feelings. That's what matters here. And for that, I'm sorry, and I'm disappointed in myself that something like that could happen.
Of course, this is not the first time a company found itself in trouble over a pitchman's problems. Remember Subway? They faced a crisis when Jared, the face of the company, was sentenced to more than 15 years in federal prison after pleading guilty to charges of child pornography and crossing state lines to pay for sex with minors. Opinion Nation, we want to hear from you when a company's pitchman has problems. Do you care enough to stop giving them your money, even if you love the product? Let's talk about it with Ali Stuckey. He's a TV host for Conservative Review. John Murray is a pop culture expert. And Taylor Lorenz is a staff writer for The Atlantic. Good to see all of you. Ali, I will start with you. Do you think people care enough if they're a fan of whatever the food may be, let's say Subway, if they're a fan of Subway, do they stop buying the product because of what may happen with the face of the company?
I think it entirely depends on how ubiquitous this company is or how much they actually like the company. If, for example, the only pizza that's around them is Papa John's, they're probably going to continue ordering Papa John's rather than make pizza for themselves. I think it depends a lot on convenience. For example, I know a lot of conservatives that don't agree with Starbucks policies or Target's policies, but because both of those companies are so popular, so ubiquitous, and it can be very difficult to find, you know, convenient items like you can at Target or convenient coffee, they continue to shop at both of those places. So it really comes down to convenience and how much of a fan you are of that brand.
Sean, what are your thoughts on Papa John? The first issue with the NFL, now this. He is still a stockholder, though. But wow, I mean, Major League Baseball is getting rid of any affiliation. University of Louisville, their football stadium, taking his name off. Is it enough, considering he still makes money on the product? He still will.
Listen, Susan, in the case of Papa John's, a fish rots at his head. And so John Schnatter is the founder of Papa John's Pizza. And so the company is having problems from the top. So in the case of African Americans who spend $1.5 trillion in buying power in this company, I mean, in this country, I don't care if Papa John's started selling Patti LaBelle pies, Oprah Winfrey weight loss food, and put Snoop Dogg as the new founder and president of this company. Black people should never eat this prejudiced pizza again.
Taylor, what do you think about that in terms of what is next in rebranding? Do people easily forget, as they did, it assumes so, I assume so with Subway, that they got rid of Jared, he's now in prison, and people are still buying Subway?
Well, look, I mean, I kind of agree with Ali in that part of it is access. If Papa John's is the only place serving pizza around, you know, a lot of consumers won't have a choice. But I think that we've seen, you know, racism, sexism, homophobia. These are things that consumers just don't stand for these days. And they've really shown, you know, that they'll speak with their wallet and that they, you know, feel that companies need to align with you know, certain things that they don't stand for. It's not to say that, you know, some customers won't forgive him, but I think that rebranding is definitely necessary, or some level of sort of a reset here.
And John, do you think that's possible, a whole rebranding of this?
No, I don't think Papa John should rebrand. And let's be clear here. You know, depending on the outrage and the community that's affected by the issue, particularly when it comes to racism, H&M announced at the top of the year that it's having to close hundreds of stores based on a bad marketing campaign that was racially insensitive that its European counterpart did. You know, Starbucks is probably the best company as far as how it handled a situation like this. And we see what's going on now with CVS, with Coupon Carl over in Chicago. When this stuff hits social media and people are outraged by it, companies do take a hit. Papa John's stock plummeted because of this. And so, yes, if you have a racist running your company, your ability to stay in business should be affected.
It is liable. And Ali, what are your thoughts, as John mentioned, Starbucks? Would it be enough to, let's say, shut down for a month, no Papa John's, and have some sort of seminar to talk about that it's not okay to be racist?
I mean, I'm not so sure if the statistics are in on that, if anti-confirmation bias training actually makes people less biased. It's more of a rebranding and marketing effort, so I'm not sure if it would actually be effective for the employees, but it might actually be effective PR if they say, look, this doesn't represent who we are, whether his words were twisted or not. We don't stand for someone actually saying that word. It might be good on the PR front, but look, I think that it's kind of iffy to say whether or not boycotts actually do work. If you look at Chick-Fil-A, people have been protesting Chick-Fil-A for many years now, and yet they're the #1, they're the fastest growing fast food chain that there is. They're wildly successful, only being open 6 days a week. So I just don't think that we can say across the board that because one person or a few people think that a company is homophobic or racist, that they're necessarily going to tank, because it's just not always true.
Yeah, we do see that with Chick-fil-A. No matter what you feel, the lines are constantly around the block at the drive-thru near my home. So Taylor, is it a problem to put somebody like John, aka Papa John, everywhere? The owner of the company, every commercial, every pizza box. I mean, he was everywhere. Is that a liability?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a liability if the person is using racist slurs, yes. I mean, it's a liability if you have someone who's a loose cannon or has, you know, sort of admittedly expressed problematic beliefs in the past. As you mentioned earlier, this is not his first dust-up. And I kind of have to disagree with Ali in some ways in that I do think consumers care. You know, we saw Travis Kalanick removed as CEO from Uber after a huge, you know, consumer campaign to #delete Uber. We saw Uber's own head of HR out just this past week for not doing a better job of policing racism at the company. So I think, you know, these issues do matter to consumer. As I said, this is racism. You know, it's not like some kind of, little mix-up or, you know, even the most C-list, like, Instagram celebrity knows, like, everything you say can be public, and you need to, you know, you need to make sure that you're not espousing kind of hateful beliefs, otherwise the company is going to suffer.
And John Murray, your final word on this, because someone doesn't all of a sudden become this person. Do you think there were enablers around him? Maybe they knew he was this way?
Well, I mean, if you found a company and you're a racist, you're going to employ people that are like you. And here's the difference between Papa John's and most of these other issues. It's one thing for a big Fortune 500 company to hire somebody that's a racist unknowingly. It's another thing for a racist to found the company. And to be clear on Chick-fil-A, the president of the company did some things that were questionable, and there were some initial boycotts. But he on his own went through a process, came out and did an interview and talked about his evolution, and the boycott stopped. So let's be factual and actual about that. Racism and conservative agenda are two separate things.
Pride Month. There were boycotts during Pride Month that happened this year.
Just presented were the actual. What I just presented were the actual
Jack Dorsey,
facts.
for example, he was given hate for eating Chick-fil-A during Pride Month this year. That just happened last month.
Well,
so
John,
you can't say the boycotts haven't happened. All I'm saying is that they're not necessarily effective.
That's an isolated thing. What I'm saying is there were major boycotts initially with Chick-fil-A. The president came out and admitted that he had evolved in theory, and people moved on. But that's not the same thing that we're dealing with Papa. Ali, yelling does not serve your conservative and push your conservative agenda on me. The facts still don't change.
I am yelling.
You are.
All right, Ali, Sean, and Taylor, it's a heated debate, a feisty one as well, but something that we have to discuss. We have to, guys, got to go. Thank you so much.